My name is George Iwan Marantika, and I'm joining you from the heritage city of Yogyakarta in Indonesia. We have before us today IABC Connect, a very unique event. As IABC Connect is a platform that we work with our members, and in this case, as Arfat has shared, is Ashton Legal, and we thank Ashton Legal for collaborating with us in this IABC Connect to talk about this very unique topic. And before I get into the topic, I want to recognize first and foremost our sister chambers around Southeast Asia, which we have joining us today. And I want to thank these chambers, and that is ANZCham Philippines, AustCham Myanmar, and AusCham Cambodia. So this is unique in a way that we are working with our regional chambers in Southeast Asia, and that is again the chambers in Philippines, Myanmar, and Cambodia. And this topic is unique because we are talking about the Global Talent Visa, which is being provided by or offered by the Australian government. And it relates to opportunities for talent around Southeast Asia in this context to be able to develop their talents in Australia. And there's a fast track, even during COVID-19 pandemic, there's a fast track. So this is very unique in terms of the opportunity that it provides. And I think the key word that we will be talking about here today is how to unlock it. So unlocking that global talent visa and in this opportunity that it presents before us today. And as Arfat has shared with us, the distinguished panelists that will be joining us today and sharing their thoughts and also what this opportunity presents, I will directly begin to allow the first speaker to begin to present her presentation and share her presentation with all of us today. And that is Kendall Draper, Ms. Kendall Draper, the Global Talent Officer of Southeast Asia, Global Business and Talent Attraction Task Force of the Department of Home Affairs. And I believe you're coming in from Singapore, Kendall.
I am. Thank you so much, George. And look, that title is a bit of a mouthful, so thank you for repeating that. I won't need to do that. Thanks so much, Min, for sharing my slides. I'll let you know when we need to go to the next slide. I really appreciate it. So hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be here today. As George stated, my name is Kendall Draper. I work for the Australian government, and I am the Global Talent Officer who is based in Singapore. So my role and my responsibility is stakeholder engagement on the Global Talent Visa for Southeast Asia. I am currently covering South Asia as well, but a colleague of mine will shortly be starting in that role. So for the webinar today, we'll all be speaking about Australia as an incredible opportunity for innovators, entrepreneurs, disruptors, and executives, and how the Global Talent Visa program can be used to achieve permanent residency very quickly. So I'll start off and give you a rundown on Australia's attractiveness for global talent and as a business hub, why Australia created this generous visa product, and outline the Global Business and Talent Attraction Task Force. So we might move to the next slide if that's okay, Min. So firstly, is that? That's better. Perfect, thank you. So firstly, why Australia? So Australia has emerged as a sought-after destination for innovative businesses and professionals. Despite the recent challenges, Australia's economic trajectory is outpacing others, building on the strong foundation of a AAA credit rating and a strong, flexible economy. Australia is the gold standard for business, with easy access to the Indo-Pacific and the ultimate test bed of early adopters of technology. We also have strong democratic institutions that offer security for IP, data and infrastructure, strong ecosystems, clusters of excellence and launch pads, support for innovators with vision and drive, an abundance of grants, incentives, capital and credit, competitive tax rates and transparent regulation, and a young, highly educated and multilingual workforce. And it's no secret that one of our key draw cards is that Australia is a lifestyle destination with a great work-life balance, an open society with the freedom to live life your way. So we might move to the next slide, please. So the Global Talent Visa Program. So what was the policy intent behind this program? It is capitalising on our attractiveness to talent. The Global Talent Visa Program was born out of the growing competition across the world for exceptional talent. The program was established to help Australia compete and attract the brightest and the best to help grow a stronger economy. The program offers a direct pathway to permanent residency for highly skilled innovators, entrepreneurs, professionals, and academics working in one of the program's 10 target sectors. So successful individuals can bring their immediate family members and have access to Australia's world-class healthcare, work rights, and education rights. So in the first program year, 5,000 visas were available in 2019 to 2020. Last financial year, the government allocated 15,000 places, tripling the program. The same number are available this financial year. So that gives you a bit of a sense on the Australian government is really invested in this program and acknowledges the diversity of global talent individuals and the impact they can make to Australia's economy. So during this time, the Global Talent Visa Program has evolved. This is to ensure we are attracting the highest calibre individuals from the 10 sectors that most need them, and that will best contribute to our growth into the future. So examples include the broadening of the program to include sectors such as education, circular economy, tourism and infrastructure, and the tightening of eligibility criteria for the PhD cohort. So we might move on to the next slide. Thank you. So the Global Business and Talent Attraction Taskforce, I'm sure a number of you have heard of this taskforce. So building on the intent of the visa program, which I've just discussed, the Global Business and Talent Attraction Taskforce has been established to help transform Australia into a more powerful magnet for exceptional talent and marquee enterprises. We are executing a more aggressive campaign to secure the companies and the exceptional talent that can boost our economic recovery. So the task force is taking a Team Australia approach. So it is hosted by the Department of Home Affairs, which is my home agency, but we partner with the likes of the Australian Trade and Investment Commission and supported by 5 other government departments, all the states and territories, and the private sector. So you can see that it's a Team Australia approach to this task force. So the task force is offering eligible professionals and companies prioritised visas with a streamlined pathway to permanent residence, the facilitated relocation of executives, critical staff and their families to Australia, bespoke advice and connections to essential industry and professional networks. However, I will just note that the threshold to receive task force support is extremely high, but it is based on conversations that I can have with individuals and businesses, and we can assess whether the task force can assist. So we might just move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So as I mentioned earlier, my role is to leverage our networks across industry, business and academia to promote the program and identify talent and facilitate its relocation to Australia as smoothly as possible. I have a number of colleagues located around the world. At present, we have offices located in San Francisco, London, Washington DC, Canberra and myself in Singapore. We also will soon have someone in Taipei and also someone covering New Delhi. If you have any further questions about the program, you're welcome to visit the Department of Home Affairs webpage, which is just on this page here, to contact a Global Talent Officer. And now with that, I'll hand over to Ashton Legal to discuss what it's like to discuss the Global Talent Visa Program.
Yes, so thank you. So as Kendall has shared with us from the perspective of the Australian government, now we would like to hear from Ashton Legal, a member of IABC, on how to go about in doing all of this. So from Ashton Legal, Mr. Robin Young, the Legal Practitioner Director of Ashton Legal. Please, Robin, the Zoom floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Pak George and Pak Afad, for organizing this event. And Ashton Legal, as a new member of the IABC, we are very privileged to have this opportunity to talk to the members and also extended network of Australian Chamber of Commerce in Southeast Asia about this great opportunity to migrate to Australia, or for businesses, the marquee end of businesses, as Kendall mentioned earlier, to set up a base in Australia to help Australia to grow, as well as for the business and the professionals running the business. And I also wanted to thank Mr. John Ackerman for introducing us to IABC to connect us with the Indonesian Australian Chamber of Commerce. So now I would just give you a very brief introduction of who we are. We are a Sydney-based law firm. We specialize in Australia-bound migration work. So the Global Talent Visa program is one that was introduced by the government towards the end of November 2019, and we came on board, started working in this program very early on. And as the program got extended, we continue to focus on the Global Talent Visa. Another visa that we specialize in is the Business Innovation and Investment Program. And this visa is focused on business professionals. So as opposed to Global Talent, which focus more on the innovation and technology. Business innovation is focused on business talents. In addition to the Global Talent and Business Invest visas, we also work on other visa programs, the General Skilled Migration, as well as employer-driven migration, skilled migration. In addition to that, we also specialize in family migration, as well as other complex matters, including health waivers, character issues, and we also specialize in AAT, administrative appeals cases, ministerial interventions, as well as other specialist areas. A very quick introduction about myself. I am admitted to practice in the High Court of Australia and also the Supreme Court of New South Wales. I've been practicing immigration law since 2012 and have worked in my capacity as both an immigration lawyer and prior to March 21 as a registered migration agent. Since March 21 this year, not long ago, the government has removed the requirement for practitioners to be duly registered. So at the moment, I'm just a migration lawyer. So I've had quite a lot of experience, as I mentioned, in the Global Talent Program. I've assisted clients from all over the world with this program, and at the very beginning, since the program started. We also have helped a lot of global clients, corporate clients with their global mobility needs, as well as high net worth clients from different parts of the world. So for high net worth clients, we've assisted clients from Vietnam, China, South Africa, US, and Europe to come to Australia to invest and to migrate to Australia.
Oops. Hi, everyone. Sorry. So just a quick introduction about myself. So my name is Minh Nguyen. I'm a Vietnamese-born Australian. So I myself went through the migration process, but admittedly when I was very, very young. So I practically grew up in Sydney, but I am located currently in Hobart. I was registered as a migration agent in 2016, but prior to that, I actually worked in the Department of Home Affairs for about 4 years. And I left when I was an APS 5 team leader in the Sydney Service Centre. So I've had a little bit of experience from both sides of the fence, I guess. It's very different being in the public service as compared to the private sector, but I do enjoy being a migration agent. I think there's a little bit more liberty in terms of being able to help people, a lot more rewarding as well when you can see that clients, you're helping clients achieve their migration objectives. So I've worked with Robin since, well, we met in 2017. and then collaborated officially in 2020. And I've been working together with Robin on the Global Talent Visa Program. And as he mentioned, we also specialise in business investment, general skilled, employer-sponsored, and other areas of migration law. We also do have another colleague. Her name's Ella Gia. She's located in Brisbane. So all of us are based along the east coast of Australia. So you'll never fall short of any support in the east coast. But having said that, we also have clients all around Australia, as well as internationally around Southeast Asia, Europe, US and UK. She is admitted into practice at the Supreme Court in Queensland in 2012, but she's also duly registered as a migration agent in 2014. So she provides corporate and individual clients on all matters relating to immigration law, with a focus on employer-sponsored, global talent and business innovation and investment visas. So she is fluent in both English and Mandarin, and again, she's had extensive experience helping people both onshore and overseas. So just moving along very quickly, an overview about the Global Talent Visa Program, and I don't want to speak too much because I think Kendall has covered quite a lot of this already. For this program, yeah, as Kendall mentioned, it's 3 times more quota than when it was initially introduced, so 15,000 places. So that includes both primary and secondary applicants, so family members. At the moment, I'm not sure where the quota is at, but maybe Kendall can give us an idea maybe at, during Q&A. But I think the program itself is getting very, very popular as it progresses and as it develops and transforms throughout the last 3 years. As Kendall also mentioned, there's global talent officers placed all over the globe to assist highly skilled professionals and PhD candidates to apply for the visa. And one of the, I guess, the facets of this visa program is that it requires endorsement from an Australian citizen or permanent resident within the same field as the candidate to sort of, it's part of the nomination process, but it is really an endorsement of the candidate's achievements. We will go through the workflow and the process of applying for the visa towards the end of the presentation. But to get to the juicy part, this is about the eligibility criteria for the Global Talent Visa. But let's go through first why one of the things, well, some of the things that are attractive about this program is that it is streamlined, which means that there's not a lot of, I guess, challenges or hoops or hurdles that general skilled migrants usually have to jump through. The difference with this visa program is that it doesn't require a specific English level. However, you do have to at least show functional English. Otherwise, you do have the option to pay a second visa installment if you don't meet that functional English level. However, being an internationally recognised candidate, generally most of our applicants have no trouble meeting that level of English. There's no skills assessment required. There's no requirement for the state government to nominate you or for you to have an employer to nominate you. There's no financial investment requirement. However, if you are, and as we will find out from one of our global talent visa grantees, looking to do business within Australia, there is a level of commitment, but that level of commitment aligns with what your objectives are coming over to Australia on the Global Talent Visa. There's no points test involved, and actually it used to be that you could apply before, for PhD candidates, you could apply before you completed your PhD thesis. However, I think recently, as of the 15th of August, that's now changed. So I'll go into a little bit more detail. PhD candidates can no longer rely solely on the fact that they will be completing their PhD thesis within the next 6 months. So that requirement has been, that pool of candidates are no longer eligible. However, if you're not solely relying on the fact that you are going to complete your PhD within the next 6 months. So, for example, if you had other aspects of being able to show your record of outstanding and exceptional international achievements, then I think you may still be able to apply. But I think Kendall might clarify a bit on that later if you can. PhD candidates who have completed their degree within the last 3 years can still apply. But as I said, you would still need to show something other than that PhD completion. So what are the requirements? You have to show innovation and technological advancement, or if you're filling a research gap within the 10 key sectors. So anything like education technology, infrastructure and tourism, digital technology, energy, resources, and health industries, just to name a few. You can be, you have to be under 55. However, if there are exceptional circumstances, then you could also be over 55 to apply for the visa. As I mentioned as well, you do have to have an internationally recognised record of outstanding and exceptional achievements in the target sector. What that looks like varies from achievement to achievement. So if you are claiming international publications in world-renowned journals and that your research fills a knowledge gap, then you'd provide those articles as evidence. If you've created international patents that are commercially viable, you would provide those patents registration, etc. So there is no hard and fast rule of what you need to provide. It just depends on what you're claiming as your international record of achievements. So the salary prospect is you have to demonstrate that you are either currently or have the potential to earn the Fair Work High Income threshold, which is 158,500 AUD. And you also have to have an Australian nominator. As I said earlier, they have to be also in the same sector as you and have a national reputation, and one who can provide a professional opinion about endorsing your achievements. And then finally, you, as well as your migrating and non-migrating family members, will need to meet health and character requirements. So recently there was a federal budget announcement. There is a focus on skilled migration and, priority within the skilled stream, which is given to the Global Talent Visa Program, as well as the Business Investment and Innovation Program and those sponsored visas. Those visas, Australia is still processing visa applications, but those visas in particular get priority in an effort to attract the highly skilled, talented individuals and professionals who can contribute and build upon Australia's economic viability and recovery during the pandemic. So as Kendall mentioned, it's a permanent resident visa, which means that you will still be able to migrate to Australia once it's granted, in spite of the current international border restrictions. Over the next 4 years, about 550 million Australian dollars, it will be committed to attract that pool of talented individuals and businesses from overseas to invest in Australia. On the contrary, general skilled migration, so traditional visas like the 189 independent skilled visa, the state nominated 190 skilled visa, and the regional state nominated skilled visas, the 491, has drastically reduced so that we can prioritise. Over to Robin. So this is just some statistics about the Global Talent Visa Program from the 1st of January to the 30th of May.
So yes, thank you, Min. So we have requested the information presented here came out from the Freedom of Information. So by sectors, by statistics on the expression of interest outcome. So at that time, they've already aligned it into the new target sectors. So we have the earlier slide had agricultural, food, agricultural technology, circular economy, education that were included in there. And as you can see, as the program gets more popular and the pool of candidates who's applying for this visa or put in their expression of interest, as the level of achievements or their expertise goes up, more and more applicants are interested in applying for this visa, and the non-invitation rate is quite high. We can see that for digital technology, for example, that's one of the largest pool of candidates within the target sectors. About 70% are not invited. And then you have as well for financial services, about 51% are not invited. Health industries, including medical technology, about 60% is non-invitation. So not to say that you know, there's a very high non-invitation rate. It is really about when you're presenting your case with the EOI, it is important to present the application with very thorough supporting documents to enable the case officer to you know, decide the case in your favor. Next, please. The other part of the FOI outcome was we wanted to find out what the processing time is. So this was from the 1st of January 2019 to the 4th of June 2021. So that's a quite extensive, quite extended period of time. When the program came out earlier on, they were processed very quickly. So I think it's because there were less applicants. So the processing time, as you can see, you know, 14 days or less, there's a huge number of applications or EOIs that were assessed very, very quickly. But currently, the department is assessing EOIs that were submitted, I think, in November. So it's coming up to 8 months, 9 months processing time. Having said that, it is also recognized where a candidate has really, really good profile. It is possible to go to the Global Talent Officer, including Kendall, and then ask them to review that. So if we come across a candidate, or if the candidate themselves, you know, believe that they are of a they have credentials that are exceptional, truly exceptional, they can go to the Global Talent Officer and get endorsement for priority consideration. The Global Talent Officer will review your profile. If they're agreeable that your profile your EOI should be prioritized, they'll liaise with their colleagues back in Australia for faster processing. The Global Talent Officers, they don't assess the EOIs themselves, but you know, if they can endorse the application for faster processing. The last slides relates also to the FOI. So we are showing that there's you know, a wide spread of nationalities who've received this visa. So as you can see, this visa, like all other Australian visa programs, as long as the candidate meets the visa requirement, you'll be able to get the visa. There's no restrictions in terms of, there's no sub-quota as to say, okay, we're setting a sub-quota for different regions or different nationalities. So as long as you can meet the criteria, you'll be able to get the visa. Let's have a very quick look at the government fees and charges. So for primary applicants, it's just over $4,000. For dependent applicants over 18 years of age, that is a spouse or their over 18 adult children, it is just over $2,000. And for children who are under 18, it's a quarter of the primary application fee. It's about $1,000. When for applicants over 18, you must be under 23. So if the applicant is over 18, studying full-time and relying on their parents for, you know, school fees and living costs, then as long as they're under 23, they can be included. As Min mentioned before, there is no requirement for the applicants to have a certain level of English, but if the applicants do not have functional English, then there is a second visa application charge that is payable to the government, which is about $5,000. The other third-party fees are the health examinations or police checks, as well as the translation fees. I wanted to give you a couple of case studies of some of the cases, some of the global talent visas that we've secured for our clients. The first one is an Indonesian client. The application was submitted a bit earlier in the year, so not that early, so it was in March. So EOI submitted on the 13th of March. We received an invitation on the 18th of March. This case was referred to the Global Talent Officer, Kendall, for endorsement for priority processing, which she also agreed with us that the candidate should receive priority processing. As you can see, after 5 days, the EOI assessing team issued the invitation. And then we prepared the visa application very quickly. The visa application was submitted 5 days after they received the invitation, and the visa was granted in May. There was a small delay because of the health examination. It took a while for the client to organize the health examination. Then we've also got a couple of clients based in Singapore. They're Singapore residents, so they are not Singapore citizens. They work in Singapore in different sectors in financial services, digital technology as they apply in financial services, as well as in advanced manufacturing. So for the client who's in digital technology, as a mid to senior executive at an international financial institution, works in the digital technology division within that institution, received the invitation about 60 days after the EOI was submitted. So even though they didn't receive priority processing, it's still relatively, it's a bit quicker than the general. The general wait time for the EOI assessment, as I mentioned before, is about 8 months. And then this visa application the visa was actually granted a couple of days ago. Okay. For the advanced manufacturing, this client received priority processing for the EOI. They received the invitation within 6 days of the EOI submission, and the visa application was also granted within 21 days after the visa application was submitted. The last case that I wanted to talk about is a client who's based in Singapore as well, but a Bangladeshi national, also in financial services and fintech. So a lot of our clients, their target sector doesn't have to be, within one or the other. Sometimes, for example, for digital technology, they are mixed with fintech and financial services. So for this client, received priority processing, invited 4 days after the visa EOI was submitted, and then the visa was granted within a month. So these are some of the examples that we can share with you. Not all the cases are processed on a priority basis, but where we think the client is, have very strong credentials, we will approach the relevant global talent officer to seek their support for priority processing.
Thank you. So, Robin, did you want to add this or add this?
Min will quickly cover this.
Okay, go ahead, Min. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to unmute. So just a little bit of our workflow. So in terms of engaging Ashton Legal, we do provide a consultation where we will assess your CV, have a look as to whether you would be eligible to meet the criteria. And if you are, then we will advise you as to the best way forward. Upon engagement, then we will provide you with a tailored document checklist. We annotate your CV, see what kind of documents that you can provide to substantiate your claims for international record of achievements. And then we will submit the expression of interest. So that's stage one of the process. After submitting the expression of interest, it is then a matter of waiting to receive an invitation. Once a unique identifier is received, then we will prepare the visa application and confirm with you all the details before we actually lodge that application. So once the application is lodged, then it is also a matter of waiting for the visa to be granted. If you are onshore when it's lodged, then you'll be provided with a bridging visa. And then once the visa is granted, we will send you that, that immigration grant notification. For offshore candidates, it's usually 12 months from the date of visa grant to make your first entry. However, there are provisions in place that allow you, because of the international border restrictions, that allow you to utilize the full validity of the visa to make that first entry into Australia.
Yes.
A bit about our service charter. So we do provide fixed fees, honest assessment. So we have had some consultations where we have said, look, we're not 100% on your profile. It is maybe sitting at 75, 80%. Here's how you can, ways that you could improve it. If you think that, you know, you have the evidence to back up the claims, then come back to us and then we would be happy to work with you. So we don't always say, yes, you're eligible, even though you may not meet the threshold. If you don't meet the threshold, then we will absolutely give you an upfront assessment about that as well. So we do provide swift responses, high efficiency. So you will be working with us one-on-one from start to finish. There's no intermediaries, and we will communicate with you despite all the time differences, and we'll respond to you as quickly as we can. As I said, we provide you with the best strategy forward. If that, sorry, if you want to also be adding family members, if your family members, your children are over 18, etc., we'll provide you with a strategy on how to approach that as well. So we don't just deal with the main eligibility criteria. We will also advise you as to the requirements for adding dependents, meeting health and meeting character requirements. We'll always give you clear instructions, and of course you will receive the top quality immigration law advice. So thank you everyone. That concludes the presentation for Ashton Legal. So I will pass it back to George.
Yes, thank you, Ming Nguyen, coming out of Hobart, Tasmania, and also Robin Yang, coming out of Sydney, yeah, Sydney. So from Ashton Legal, thank you. Very informative and I think very, very useful and attractive information. And now we're going to go to Melbourne and hear from Hussein Najati, the CTO and co-founder of Chronic Care, a very interesting company, an AI-based assessment and management technology company for chronic wound care. So he will share with us, you know, a testimonial and share with us his experience of going through this process. So from Melbourne, Hussein Najati, the Zoom floor is yours.
Thank you, George. Hi, everyone. Thank you for your times. And thank you all for arranging this amazing event. I'm Hussein. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Chronic Care. And I start with a little bit of my background. I had my PhD from National University of Singapore in machine learning and image processing. And after that, I worked with amazing people in fields of AI, neuroscience, aerospace, and healthcare, both in Singapore and the US while I was working at MIT. Then in 2017, we started, my co-founder and I started Chronic Care, as George rightfully put. It's an AI-based assessment of chronic illnesses, and our product is a wound scanner that provides medical report of chronic wounds automatically. And we are now operating in Southeast Asia, India, Middle East, Europe, and UK, and now started our operations in the Australian market. I'm here to share my story about how I got to know this program and how I applied and how we went step by step further, and what's the status now and what was my experience. Honestly, our first plan was to go to Canada. So we didn't even know about this program, and we started preparing for Canada and we applied. and by faith, and we missed a seemingly unimportant document in our application. So it costs us our application, right? And because of my age, we couldn't apply again. We were back in the pool, and my age was going higher and higher, and honestly, we didn't have any other option. It was back in about December 2019, and my friend, one of my friends back in Singapore, told me about the Global Talent Program, and we went checking and reading the website, and it fit quite nicely in the medtech area with my profile. So the good thing was that we have prepared all those documents for Canada. Now we could just apply it directly to GTI program. And honestly, the application was much more easier. And at each step of the way, we could ask through emails or even sometimes calls that what should I put in this specific field or for a specific document. Back in 2019, it was a bit different. Now it's much more streamlined through the website, but it was how I applied. And it took us about a week to prepare those documents, what is needed, and prepare the formatting. And I could still remember it vividly. It was about midnight that I submitted. And 6 a.m. when I woke up, an email was in my mailbox, and it was the PR acceptance. So it was a tremendous feeling that we had just in a couple of hours of acceptance. So we didn't know back then that in a couple of months the world will be upside down by the COVID. What happened? So I was in Singapore, right? So I was in Singapore. Because of the COVID, each major country was trying to protect the jobs for its citizens in PR, and I was not, and I'm still not a Singaporean or Singapore PR. To give you a sense of the situation, our company is majorly Singaporeans and PRs, but we have a handful of key technical team that are not Singaporeans or not PRs in the cloud services, in the AI, and in the medical device designing. So we had trouble extending those visas because the entire society was under pressure. There was a lot of job loss, and we were struggling to find a way to keep those people inside the company because these people was very talented and was the core engine of the company. You can think of the AI company losing its core would be finished. So having the GTI program, it actually opened up a new pathway to operate our company. So we decided that we have to consult more and more with Global Talent Office and with the Invest Victoria, which was one of the major supporters for us to move to Australia. We went back and forth on different options. We were introduced to different legal teams, servicing companies, etc., to understand what would be the best approach for us to both operate the company and move our families and our teams here. We started to book our tickets in about April, but then there was a cancellation because of the quota, and we were pushed back to about December last year. By then, we were pretty sure of the plan. We decided to bring the technical team, the core technical team, to Australia and support our global operations from Australia to our markets. Those other markets will be mainly business, and our core business, our core technical people will be in Australia. Right away, when we started operations in Australia, we hired 3 very talented people locally, and 2 in Melbourne and 1 from Brisbane. And this was And we didn't stop discussing different parameters of the market and the operations with different entities. We had great discussions to understand the field in Australian market and New Zealand market in the field of medtech specifically, with the mentors from Invest Victoria. And we were connected to Melbourne Connect, which as a hub to connect to different people, different entities, other companies, what are the facilities that are being available here, and to understand especially the market and how to establish here and how to plan forward. Then it was our job to show that what we are capable of. We showed both our HQ and here that we can actually operate despite the time difference with all around the world. So we are now working with Europe and starting to work with the US. We can easily go back and forth with our HQ in Singapore, and we are starting different operations in Indonesia and in Malaysia. So we showed that despite the difference in distance, despite the difference in the time zone, we are very capable of doing our technical support. That led to our decision to make the Melbourne office a full office by bringing one of our most talented and experienced business people, Mr. Ali Shirazi, to Melbourne to basically expand the business here, not just the technical. And he is going to be using the already established networks, manufacture devices here in Australia, and provide services to the Australian and New Zealand market. So you could see we started pretty cautiously to come and see, test the waters, bring some of our talents here, and then start expanding. The reason, of course, is that migration is not an easy task for everybody. It's not clear from the beginning, but at every step of the journey, we had discussions with the people who were in the Global Talent Office, in the Invest Victoria office, in the Melbourne Connect office, to understand what are the options. So it was very, very different from our other experiences when we were to open an office somewhere else or to migrate to somewhere else. It's a completely different experience. It's an honest view of the situation by these people who are very knowledgeable in their works. This led to our decisions step by step. But it's not all about work, right? It's the other side of everything here is about the family as well. So you're migrating not just your work or yourself, you have your family. And like many of you, I work very hard around the clock to bring the startup to the place that it deserves to be, right? Our best try is to expand the business, create more opportunities. And I personally know what it means to give people the chance to learn and rise, because in many cases during my career, I was the person who was given the chance. So the difference here is that in Australia, specifically in Melbourne, the place that I've fallen in love with, and my family has fallen in love with, we are not worried about our healthcare, about our children's education. We are not worried about being looked upon as foreigners that are here to take our jobs. We are looked upon as people who can actually make a difference, who bring new opportunities, who can help me change my career track to a more interesting, more futuristic way. So this is a feeling that my family and I have about Australia and about Melbourne. The feeling of belonging. It's honestly for myself. It's after it's been such a long time that I didn't have that sense of belonging, and this makes me to do more here. I see that there's a question to me. Shall I answer the questions now, or shall I just? I'm finished with my.
Okay. Yeah.
session.
Well, thank you, Hussein. And we'll go into question and answers because there's a lineup of questions just sent to me by Arfad from our headquarters. And I'll just probably start lining that up for all of you to share. Now, just one aspect, I think that's a very interesting experience you had. And now and this whole process was during COVID, correct?
That is correct.
You moved your core team, yeah, during COVID.
Yes.
And you know, I mean, obviously everywhere in the world, that's not easy to do. And I think that is an amazing experience. So thank you for sharing that with us, Hussein. And you mentioned the Victoria government. The Victoria government is also part of our board here in IABC and support IABC here. And Rebecca Hall is one of our board of advisors, the Senior Commissioner of Global Vic. So thank you for that very, very amazing experience. And I think very unique, yeah? Very unique and exceptional in many ways. So now to the distinguished panelists here, we have a lineup of questions. And so what we'll do is we'll just make it conversational. You know, we have about a little over half an hour to discuss. So I will shoot out these questions to you, and then, you know, we can have a conversation. You can all answer which ones you think is appropriate and relevant to you. So just for the panelists, we have audiences here from obviously Australia, Indonesia, Philippines, Cambodia, and also I believe Myanmar. Yeah, I believe Myanmar is coming in. So first is from Helton Tan. Yeah, so you know, first come first serve. So I'll start with the first ones. That is there an age limit for the program? That's the first question. The second question is from Irma Irshad. Yeah. How long will the talent visa last? So how long will this last? You know, every visa has a period, right? So is there a period to that? The third question is from Cambodia. This one's coming from Cambodia, from Tex Sim Hyang. I am he or she is a designer of cloth and textile.
Yeah.
Could I apply or not? You know. There you go. Hi.
Yeah, hi. I'm from Cambodia. Yeah, Awesome. In fact, I love Australia, and I have been Australia in 2019 because I've been the Women Global Trading Program. So I went to join the training in Brisbane 1 week and in Sydney 1 week. So it made me love Australia a lot.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So are you coming in from Phnom Penh, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. Awesome. So, and then, so we have Tex Sim Hyang, and we've got Su Mo Min U. Yeah. And the question is there any support if a candidate working at Australian company? So if you're already working in an Australian company, is there any support? And then from Karanina Widya, yeah, do we need to find sponsorships for this arrangement? In case of an application is rejected, is there any refund for the applicant? So this is for the lawyers there, or the government. Is there any refund for the applicant? So, and then from Yunus Koswara, can we set up a meeting session to have more detailed understanding? This is interesting, about permanent resident option for Australia, particularly for the state of Victoria, Melbourne. So there you go, Melbourne. And then from Ping Yang Li, and this is directly to Hussein, for this GTI application, what is the total workload? Thus considering using agent as a helper versus, I guess DIY is do it yourself, right? Is that correct? So, because we say here DIY is Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta, and that's where I'm living. So it's the name of the state. So I have to make sure that it's do it yourself. I think that's what it's meant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, correct, right? Ping Yang Li. Hi, Ping Yang Li. Thank you for that. So,
Hey, Judge.
yeah, you know, this is a good group of about 45 participants. We can make it conversational. It's not, you know, it's just enough to make it conversational and interesting. So these are the questions that have been shot out by this, you know, distinguished audience from various countries around Southeast Asia. And with that, I'm going to give it to the floor, the panelists, for you to answer which one you feel that you want to answer and that's relevant to you. Please, go ahead. Maybe ladies first. Kendall, would you like to start?
Sure. Thank you so much. So I won't speak to the specifics around the process of the Global Talent Visa. I'll leave that up to Ashton Legal. I think a couple of the things that I've noted that I can answer is probably the question around, oh, the questions are moving, sorry. Is there support if candidate working at an Australian company? So I think that goes to the nominator requirement, which Ashton Legal can talk to in more detail. But what we're looking for with this visa is for an eligible nominator to nominate the individual and attest to your credentials as being globally talented. So that could be an Australian citizen, an Australian permanent resident, or an Australian organisation. They just have to have a national reputation in the same field as yourself. So that gives you a bit of a sense on around if you are working for an Australian company, there are avenues in which they can support you. There are other options. They can provide statements to support your credentials, to note that you're working for them and that you can become established in Australia and that you're an asset to Australia. That really goes to the eligibility around the program. And the second question I think that I can probably answer is around the refunds. So the process around the Global Talent Visa is two-step. So the first stage is submitting an expression of interest, and the second step is being invited to apply for the visa. So the first step is actually free of charge, and this is where you test your credentials against the eligibility criteria and submit all of your evidence. If you are invited to apply, that's where the fee for the visa is charged. So it's at the invitation of the visa stage, not at the expression of interest stage. So I hope that gives you a bit of a sense in terms of whether you would get a refund. To be frank, no, at the visa stage. So you still have an opportunity to test your credentials at the expression of interest stage. So I might leave it there because I think those are the specific questions I can answer right now and won't go into the specifics on the program because as you are all aware, I'm a government official, so I can't give specific migration advice. That's best left for migration agents. But what I should have made clear in my presentation is that as a government official, we don't endorse certain migration agents. There's a lot.
Yes, Kendall? I think Kendall, I think she dropped out.
Sorry, I'm back.
Go ahead,
yeah, I did drop out. No, all done. I'll hand over now. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's very clear. Thank you, Kendall, coming out of Singapore, representing the Australian government for that information and that elaboration. And now we'll go to our friends from Ashton Legal, Robin and Ming. Maybe you can answer some of the questions that have been presented to us today.
Sure. So just the question about whether there is an age limit, I think I touched on it during the presentation. So if you are under 55 and over 18, you should be fine to apply for or at least submit an expression of interest. If you are under 18 or over 55, as I said, there has to be some sort of exceptional circumstance or benefit to your credentials, or that you would be prominent and still an asset to Australia, even though you may not meet the age limit. What is exceptional, it really is dependent on what you can bring to the table, and that will be sort of assessed on a case-by-case basis. Usually we would have to go through a consultation and assessment process first, and then again you would have to provide the evidence so that your claims are backed up if you are invited to apply, and we do lodge the visa application.
Very good. Yeah.
Kendall, maybe you can, do you maybe want to answer how long will the Global Talent Visa last? I mean, at the moment, we know that the quota is up until the end of 30th of June 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. I can talk to the program and the length of the program. I think maybe this question is asking around the PR element and the years attached to that. So I'll leave that to you guys to answer. But around the program, I guess I highlighted in my presentation that the Australian government has tripled this program. So that gives you a sense on how much investment and excitement there is from the Australian government around this program and how important we realise that bringing in global talent, it's a combination approach. So we need the global talent to learn off these talented individuals to foster growth. So I think I can't give you a yes or a no whether the program will continue into the next program year. That's obviously a decision for government. But as you can see with the history of the program, it started at 5,000 places and has tripled to 15,000 last program year. So that's a financial year. And then this financial year, it is the same 15,000 places. So a decision will be made in the future around what the program looks like, but that gives you a good indication of the sense of the program and the excitement around this.
Yeah, definitely. And then in terms of how long the visa lasts, so once it is granted for 5 years. You, as I said before, you are given 12 months to make that initial first entry into Australia to sort of activate the visa. But however, during the COVID pandemic, there are concessions that you can, if you can't make it within the first 12 months, that's not a problem. You've got 5 years to make that first entry. That 5 year is a expiry of what we call a travel facility. So once you are in Australia, you can remain in Australia indefinitely. And then apply for citizenship once you meet the requirements. If you do want to travel in and outside of Australia as a permanent resident, beyond the 5 years travel facility, then you'll need to reapply for what's called a resident return visa. So that's something different. Another topic for another day. But yeah, the GTI visa itself, because it's a permanent residency visa, there is a 5 year validity for that visa.
And I will just add that in addition to the first entry date, there is a must not arrive after date, and that is in your granted notification letter.
Mm-hmm. Very good, very good. So Robin, did you want to add to that from Ashton Legal?
Sure, maybe I'll answer Tech's question about being a designer of cloth and textile, will I be able to apply? This visa, the sole criteria is whether you have an international record of achievement in an area that has been identified by the Australian government as a target sector. So I guess, whether the designing of the cloth and textile can fit in with innovation technology. I know, for example, the University of Technology, Sydney, they have their School of Design are looking at material that are very innovative. So maybe you put on, the clothes you made, you can't see, it's invisible clothing. Or so these are, innovation technology that would most likely fit in with the Global Talent Program. But if it is more traditional textile design, that might not fit in with the Global Talent Program. Having said that, for example, if the design of the cloth or textile involves reusing material that, recycled material, or, waste to new material, that can come in as part of the circular economy if it can be done on a scale. So it really depends. There's no, a clear-cut answer to say yes or no, but it depends on what the specific cloth or textile you're designing.
Very good. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That came from Tek Sim Hayang from Cambodia, from Phnom Penh. Yeah.
Thank you so much. In fact, I can do all traditional and modern, because last year I just been a top designer with ABDC that's supported by Germany government too. And now my product is support to government, to Germany. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Very good. Very good. Thank you, Robin, and thank you, Tek Sim Hayang from Cambodia. Now, Hussein, yes, so you have a question. You have a question specifically for you, but if you also want to answer any of the other questions, please go ahead.
I think the question, I'm going to read the question for the GTI application. What is the total workload, thus considering use agent as a helper versus do it yourself? I think it is quite case by case. My background is in academic. You have to look how fit you are and how sure you are about the requirements of the applications, of the documents, etc. Sometimes you would know by looking at the application that I don't quite understand what I should put here as a supporting document, or what should I answer here. I think in those cases you have to seek help. My specific case was that because we had applied for Canada, we had this journey done before, so we had those documents ready. That was the quick path for us. But I advise going through discussions both with the Ashton Legal. There can be initial discussions to just give you a sense of where you are sitting, or directly with Global Talent Office. You would yourself know what you have to choose.
Thanks, Hussein. So for the initial stage, like the EOA stage, that one can be done by ourselves. What's the volume of work there? Is a few hours or a few days of work?
For my case, was few days. Yeah, it was. Okay. There are. It's not a very hard or difficult document to make for myself. It wasn't a difficult document to make, but time consuming. So I had to go through all my legal documents, academic documents to prepare and present it nicely. Yeah, I wouldn't say hours. I would say at least a week or so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So thank you, Hussein and Ping Yang Lee for that question. We have some more questions, so I'm going to shoot it out from, first of all, from Sri Kasturi. The question is, if applicants do not have direct nomination from their sector, can other sector nominations be considered as well? So that's from Sri Kasturi. And then we have another question from, there's a direct, I am a telecom specialist having around 31 years of experience. Can I apply or need to have a job first available in Australia? So there's another question there. And then from Hadi Nagavipur, to everyone, there's a profile here, University Malaya, sponsor Queensland University, 8 years developer, 8 years experience in engineering technologies. So please advise. And then Karanina Vidya also asked after this meeting, can we get the PDF presentation? Yes, I think you can. So this is now the second round of answers from our panelists, distinguished panelists. I'll give the floor back to the panelists to answer these additional questions that have been asked. If anyone of you would like to comment on these relevant questions.
Yeah, so I might answer Sri Kasturi's question about direct nomination. So I think Kendall also reiterated that nominators do have to be within the same sector as yourself. So for example, if you're applying in the Digitech sector, you can't get an Australian nominator who is in the medical technology sector. The idea with the Australian nomination is to get an endorsement or an attestation of the candidate's skills. And in order to provide that professional opinion, the nominator actually has to be working and have a national reputation within the same sector to understand, okay, so what is the candidate's achievements, how have they achieved this, how will they be an asset to the Australian community. So you can't cross over between different sectors, it has to be within the same sector as yourself. We always say, excuse me, we always say a warm connection is always much better than a cold connection. So no matter, you know, it might be 1 arm's distance, 2 arm's distance, you might have colleagues who know or have a network with Australian nominators in the same industry. And then you might start up a conversation to build up that relationship. So finding an Australian nominator is challenging sometimes when you don't have that initial network. But here at Ashton Legal, we will also try to help you, connect you with the nominators. Sometimes that is an assessment of your CV, and they will also have that conversation to get to know your work. So certain situations we've had Australian companies also ask for the candidate CV If there are positions that are available, then the Australian companies can also perform interviews to see whether they're suitable. So there are benefits in having that connection with the nominator, but to answer your question, no, it can't be from a different sector.
Thank you, Ming. Any more responses from the panelists here on the questions? There's a question about a telecom specialist from Mohammed here.
Okay, I'll try that. I mean, for individual clients or potential candidates for this program, I think it's best to reach out to us separately because of your, achievements. There's no generic, well, the generic guideline is you have to have an international record of achievement in one of the key target sector. But then how that is demonstrated by each candidate is different. For example, with Hussein not only has an academia background, so that's when we looked at conferences or publications, and then he also has achievement from a professional capacity in terms of applying his research outcome to a real world, to create a real world solution in the medical technology sector. So again, it depends on the client, and there's no generic to say if you've had 30 years experience as at this level, then you will qualify for the visa. So yeah, you don't have to have an employer to be able to be nominated or be invited by the Australian government for this visa. But as Min mentioned before, we have in the past where we were looking for a nomination from an Australian business, the Australian business interviewed the candidate. In the end, they actually offered the person an employment. So that is not a requirement for this visa because the nomination is only for someone who can endorse and say, I'm the expert in this area in Australia, and then I can endorse the candidate's expertise, but it's not an employer-driven visa. So you don't have to have an employer to offer you employment to get the invitation.
Very good. Thank you, Robin. Thank you. Maybe from Hussein or Kendall, would you like to add on those line of additional questions?
Nothing to add from me. I think that covers it.
Very good. Hussein?
This was one of the most frequent questions from my friends that are applying, finding a nominator. And as Robin says, it's not the nominator is not bound to you in any sense that has to give you an employment or anything else. It's just a professional experience, professional testimony about your experience or about your skills. That has to be kept in, and also transferred. This understanding should be transferred to the nominator as well, so that he or she would not feel that by doing so, by endorsing you, he or she is bound to you by any means.
Okay, very good. We have coming in another question here from Annika Santoso. Looking at the nominations that have to have special skills, this is an interesting question. Yeah. Do I, as a housewife and an entrepreneur, have any chance of applying the permanent residence? So that's a question coming in from Annika Santoso. And then I have a question here also lined up regarding IP. Yeah? Regarding IP. So I think that's a unique situation with other national achievements. Does having patents in IP in Australia improve chances to get the priority nomination for the global talent? Yeah, DTI. So 2 additional questions here, and I think there are some follow-up coming in from Pingyang Lee that I think you all can also connect with him. So 2 additional questions. Anyone like to answer that? And also the telecom specialists there. Maybe if anyone would like to answer that question from Mohammed Hussein. Yeah.
So I'm happy to take the IP question, George, and around patents. I think that So if you look at the Global Talent Visa Program website, it sets out the criteria and the eligibility criteria. And what we ask for is that evidence support that criteria. So examples of things that can support your evidence of international recognition and outstanding achievement are things like your IP, your patents, statements from prominent business and industry peers, newspaper and magazine articles, links to reputable websites. Those are the package of documents that we want to see support your expression of interest and your evidence. So absolutely, IP is something that you should consider and put in your application, as long as it is attesting to that international recognition of outstanding achievements. I will leave the questions for Ashton Legal on specific cases. I will just say that it is case by case. I can't make pre-assessments, and it is based on the information that I'm provided and the directions that I'm bound by in terms of assessing for priority processing, but it is a case by case conversation, and it needs to be looked at with the eligibility criteria that supports this program. I think there's a question around there from Ping Yang around the number of spots and the 15,000. So it is a program year, and it is based on the time of application. So we look at the numbers based on that time of application, and it doesn't necessarily roll into the next year, but that's a conversation that we need to have when we're assessing as we go.
Very good. Thank you, Kendall. From our friends from Ashton Legal, Robin and me.
Just on the questions that are more specific to people's individual profiles, I think maybe just to save on time, you guys can get in contact with us, send us an email at the end of the presentation. We're happy if you flick through a updated CV, provide us the details of your career episodes, your qualifications, your record of international achievements, and we're happy to have a quick look and do a chat to you individually, take it offline, because I think it's very much case by case. So it will take time to make that pre-assessment. So please do get in touch with us after the presentation. In terms of Ping Yang's question about other visa types, so general skilled migration visas 189, 190, 491, there is a reduction in quota, but that's because the Australian government is prioritising, as I mentioned, the Global Talent Independent Visa Program, the business investment programs. That doesn't mean to say that in the coming years, general skilled migration will remain at a low quota. It could change. Whether in terms of the question about deciding which visa pathway is best for you, again, that is on a case-by-case basis. So our consultations are designed we have the intention to give you that very detailed assessment about what is best for you, what you're eligible for, give you a time frame of what to expect. But yeah, that comes through on an individual basis. So it's hard to say, you know, if GSM, general skilled migration pathway is better, or whether global talent independent visa is better for you.
Okay, very good. Robin, did you want to add to that?
So I guess, you know, one thing is clear: if you are eligible under the global talent, then it is the best visa that is available now. Then if you're not eligible, then you will be looking at, you know, if you wanted to still consider general skilled migration, 189, 190, they are possible. But given the COVID, given the negative impact on adverse impact of COVID on employment, local employment, 190 state nomination is quite uncertain. There are certain occupations that the government has identified as priority migration occupations, which the government will prioritize for skilled for under the 189 or 190 program. Yeah, global talent visa, if you are eligible, there's no skilled occupations. You have to have an international record, and you will be able to make contribution to Australia, and you'll be able to establish yourself in Australia. And these are the three key criteria, unlike 189, 190, where you have to be points tested and you'll be competing with a much larger pool of skilled professionals.
Thank you, Robin.
And I guess, sorry, George, I'll add to that. So as you're all probably aware, the position that Australia has taken on its borders, this is a permanent residency visa. So the excellent thing about this is that you don't need an exemption to enter Australia if you're a permanent resident or an Australian citizen. So that is a factor that a lot of the individuals that I speak to comes into play because of the current situation in Australia with their borders.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. So thank you, Kendall. Now we're coming up to the end of the hour and a half that we have been allocated. So what I'll do is I'll provide a chance for the panelists to provide their, their conclusion remarks. I'll start with Hussein coming out of Melbourne, and then Robin, Sydney, Ming out of Tasmania, and then to conclude that on behalf of the Australian government, you, Kendall, coming out of Singapore. But there is one question that popped up as we were ending, so I'll just throw it out. And then, I guess as you conclude your ending remarks, you can also answer this question coming out of Goose. Basically, can you switch your visa from 858 non-endorsed non-GTI to a endorsed GTI path? So that's another question that just popped out before we concluded. But we have about 5 to 7 minutes left. And I want to give the distinguished panel time to provide the ending remarks for this very unique and interesting topic. So we'll begin with Hussein out of Melbourne. Please, sir, the Zoom floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I should firstly thank the panelists and the organizers of this event, and also the Australian government, especially Invest Victoria, that helped us. I should just say my key phrase in this experience that I had, that it is truly that you are not alone, and you can actually reach out to the experts and ask, whether it is legal experts, whether it is global talent officers, or any other entity that is involved in this program. So don't be afraid, just send your questions, and you would know. And it is such an amazing journey that we had, thankfully. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, George, for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Zain. Thank you. And now Robin, coming out of Sydney.
Thank you, Pat George. Thank you, Hussein, for giving your first-hand experience to the audience, and thank you for IABC for organizing this. But I agree with what Hussein had mentioned a couple of times. Because we work across different visa programs, we have found that the Global Talent Program is one area within the department that the government officials, like the Global Talent Officer, like Kendall today, they're very open to assisting candidates. So we are here to assist you, but also, I think the government has given the Global Talent team the mandate to attract people, and that's what they are here to do, and they're always, ready to help. But for us, we are always here through our expertise, through a lot of successes that we have achieved for our clients. We are ready to help you whenever you are, not only to individual clients, but also for businesses where they are really, really at the top end of the market, where they wanted to expand or grow their business in Australia. We can connect you with through Kendall, through to the Global Business Attraction Task Force as well.
Thank you, Robin. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Ming, coming out of Hobart.
Just adding on to what Robin said, coming from like a legal practitioner point of view, I've actually really enjoyed working with a lot of the candidates coming through the Global Talent Independent Visa, but also I think from my experience in both public sector and private, it is really refreshing to see the bridge connected between, immigration officers, global talent officers, and legal practitioners and the client, where it's so much more streamlined and so much more, pleasurable just to work as a team. and to be able to achieve these objectives for the clients. And I think the most rewarding thing is when the clients are actually granted the visa within a really short period of time, and they're really excited to move and start their journey in Australia.
Thank you, Ming. Very, very good, very good. And now, Kendall, on behalf of the Australian government, you can conclude this very unique topic for today.
It's big shoes to fill, George. You've done a great job. So thank you so much, everyone. This has been a wonderful webinar. I would echo what everyone has said. I think the benefit of the Global Talent Visa Program, or one of the main benefits, is there's a real person to speak to. So I am a real human. You can ask me questions. I'm here to assist you. I think that's a really good thing with this program because of the level of talent. As I said in my presentation, Australia is a sought out destination, not just from a lifestyle perspective. I think we're starting to see that Australia is coming up to speed in terms of innovation and new ideas, and is really becoming a foundation location for this talent. So it's an absolutely exciting opportunity. As the team has said, I've put my email address in the chat, the group inbox. You can find it on the Home Affairs website as well, but it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you, Kendall. On behalf of the Australian government coming out of Singapore, thank you, Ming, Ashton Legal coming out of Hobart, Tasmania, Robin, Ashton Legal coming out of Sydney, and Hussein, coming out of Melbourne. So thank you, distinguished panelists, for this very, very unique topic, and I think very, very fruitful dialogue. And I always endorse, these type of enhancement of human capital development. And this, obviously, this program is a part of helping people making their lives better and enhance their capacities and their abilities wherever they are. So thank you for this very distinguished panel. And on behalf of the Indonesian Australian Business Council, I would like to thank also the audience here coming from various countries out of Southeast Asia, and for your participation, very strong participation from the audience. And I'd like to thank Ashton Legal, member of IABC, who collaborated with us on this IABC Connect. I'd like to thank the Global Business and Talent Attraction Task Force of the Australian government for their support on this program. And also thank you, ANZCham Philippines, AustCham Myanmar, and AusCham Cambodia, who have also participated in supporting this dialogue today. Thank you, everyone, and may you stay safe, keep well, and always think positive.
Thank you. Thank you, Afat. Thank you, everyone.